All right, so let's talk about Yulimar Rojas from Venezuela in the women's triple jump. Now, she recently announced that she picked up an Achilles injury and underwent surgery and is unfortunately going to be sitting out the entire 2024 season, meaning she's going to be missing the Olympic Games in Paris, France later on this summer. Now, this got me thinking about the dominance that Yulimar Rojas has displayed over the past couple years, where she has literally turned herself into the GOAT as still just a young athlete. Between 2017 to 2023, she has won every single possible gold medal. 2017, 2019, 2022, and 2023 world champion, 2018 and 2022 world indoor champion, and of course, the Olympic champion at the Tokyo Olympic Games in 2020. She has dominated the event when talking about all the gold medals, but on top of that, she has also dominated it when you're talking about the marks, broken the world record on two separate occasions, 15.67 meters, as well as 15.74 meters, which currently stands as the world record and is on the cusp of the 16-meter barrier. I mean, you're talking about a woman jumping 16 meters. Absolutely insane. On top of that, you have the depth of marks, where she has 9 of the top 10 performances all time in the women's triple jump. Of course, the top 2 performances broke the world record on top of that. But adding to that depth, she has jumped over 15 meters 27 times throughout her career. That is unmatched relative to any other person in history. And that doesn't even include the ancillary marks, which are the jumps within the competition that don't get counted as a final mark. If you add all the final jumps as well as the ancillary jumps, she has jumped over 15 meters 49 times throughout her entire career. Again, unmatched. It's actually kind of crazy how she's literally turned the triple jump completely on its head, again, just over the past 7 years or so, since 2017. So she is clearly the GOAT, and she's only 28 years old, so she still has many years to go. And Achilles injuries are kind of tough, right? They can be very challenging, but if Yulimar Rojas is able to put things together, if she's able to get healthy, she underwent surgery, we could see her get back into form in 2025 and then potentially go on to improve her world record and dominate once again. But this did get me thinking about not only Yulimar Rojas and the dominance that she's put in, but also the way that she's completely reshifted the women's triple jump and ushered in a new generation, pretty much a new golden era for the women's triple jump that we're living through right now. So just a little backstory. Many of y'all know that the triple jump is probably my top 3 favorite events. I love the triple jump, the 400 meters, as well as the 200 meters. So I'm always giving them shout outs. I'm always trying to, highlight some of the top triple jumpers. This really goes back to about 2010. I was really getting into the sport in like 2009, but Christian, he was competing for the University of Florida and he was just dominating around that time. But also Teddy Tango from France, he was also dominating around that time. I got to see him come to New York City where he jumped 17.98 meters, which was the farthest jump in the men's triple jump since 1998, I think, at that point. And then Christian Taylor, he of course went on to jump 17 meters. Both of them, along with Will Clay, Pablo Pichardo, they went on to jump 18 meters. That really made it into a golden era for the men's triple jump throughout the 2010s. Then, during that era, you also had Caterina Barguin from Colombia, who was also dominating, where she was jumping 15 meters multiple times. And she was another one who really inspired me and gave me so much love and appreciation for the triple jump, along with the men dominating. But before Caterina Barguin came onto the scene, the generation before her, during the 2000s up to about 2008, they absolutely dominated the women's triple jump, and that was the true golden era. But like I said, Yulimar Rojas, she has pretty much ushered in a new generation of women who are at their best and competing and hitting some of the farthest marks in the event that we have not seen since 2008. Right now, you have women like, of course, again, Yulimar Rojas, you have Shanika Ricketts, you have Bekh-Romanchuk, Thea Lafond. You have so many women who have been able to jump over 15 meters and a lot of women who are also very much on the cusp. So I want to dive in and discuss 3 specific things for today. First off, a little history about the women's triple jump in the sport as a whole. Then I want to talk about how this era of women's triple jumping compares to previous eras that we've seen in the past. And then finally, who are some of the top athletes that we should be looking out for, not only as we lead up into the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, but then also as we look into the future. There are so many women that we should definitely keep an eye out for. So let's talk about it. So first off, the women's triple jump is actually a relatively young event. The first time that the IAAF, now known as World Athletics, they started recognizing the world record in the event in 1990. They only introduced it to the World Championships in 1993. And then it was finally added to the Olympic Games in 1996. So we're really only talking about not even 30 years for the women's triple jump to be at the Olympic Games. And to give you some context, the first Olympic Games back in 1896 had the men's triple jump. So literally it took 100 years for the women to be added into the Olympic Games in this event. So kind of crazy on that front. So prior to 1990, when the world record was officially recognized, we saw a bunch of unofficial world records dating all the way back to 1922 when 10.32 meters was the the world record at that point, and then all the way to 1989, where 14.52 meters was the unofficial world record. And really between 1981 to 1989, we actually saw the world record change hands 15 different times by 9 different women. So just showing how much competition there was, despite the event still not being official in terms of the world record, not being at the World Championships, not being at the Olympics, so many women were still being extremely competitive. But the 15-meter barrier was first broken by Anna Bryakova, who competed for Russia, and she did it all the way back in 1993. But fast forward to 1995, and Anissa Kravets from Ukraine completely turned the women's triple jump on its head and dominated all throughout the 90s. First off, in 1995, she won the gold medal at the World Championships. She jumped a world record in that event in 15.50 meters, which stood as the world record all the way until 2021 when Yulimar Rojas broke it for the first time. But on top of that, she also got the gold medal at the first Olympic Games in 1996 in Atlanta, and there she also jumped 15.33 meters, which was the second farthest jump in history, only behind the world record she set just a year prior. So when we're talking about Kravets from Ukraine, again, she kind of ushered in the first golden era for the women's triple jump, where it's just getting its footing at the World Championships and the Olympic Games, but a couple women were also dominating right alongside with her. Between 1990 and 1999, you saw 9 women jump 15 meters a total of 19 times, so extreme consistency throughout that decade. And all the championships, except for 1999, the gold medal was won in at least 15 meters. So that, again, shows the dominance of those women during that time. And I do want to keep note of 1995 and 1996, where we saw it took 15.08 meters to medal in 95 and 14.98 meters to medal in 1996. So keep those kind of 2 championships in mind as we look forward through the following eras. Now, moving over to 2000, and this would continue on the first era of the women's triple jump, but take it to new levels that I don't think anyone would have imagined in terms of the marks that were hit, but then also the consistency in the 15-meter range. From 2000 to 2010, throughout that decade, we saw 15 different women jump 15 meters a total of 60 times throughout those 10 years. That is over 3 times more than the previous decade, where we saw 9 women jump 15 meters 19 times. So absolutely insane in terms of the progress that women made in just a few short years throughout 2000. Now, on top of that, every single championships throughout that decade, except for 2009, was won in a jump of at least 15.11 meters or higher. That is insane depth. We're talking from 2000 all the way up to 2008. Every single gold medal was won in 1511 or farther. On top of that, a couple notable championships. 2000, 14.96 to get on the podium. 2003, 14.90 to get on the podium. 2004, 15.14 meters to get a medal. And 2008 saw 15.05 meters to get on the podium. But just for some context, in 2008, there was actually 2 Russians who were disqualified due to doping. And it originally took 15.03 meters to finish in 6th place. 15.03 got 6th place. That is insane depth. 2008 was an insane year, but it really just highlights that decade and the dominance, the progression that the triple jump has made in just a few years since it was introduced in 1995 at the World Championships. And there were kind of 3 women who were probably the most dominant and consistent throughout the decade, where you had Mbango Etone, who competed for Cameroon, you had Tatiana Lebedeva, who competed for Russia, and you had Savine, who competed for Cuba. All 3 of those women were the most consistent, as they won the most medals from the World Championships and the Olympic Games throughout those 10 years. But then you also had a couple other women who were very much in the mix, but those 3 women really dominated the decade. Now, as we move forward to the next era, which is like 2010 to 2018, and I'll talk about why it's not fully through 2020, that's kind of the Yulimar Rojas era, but that was another really strong era, but not nearly as dominant as the previous years. Now, we had 5 women jump 15 meters a total of 8 times, not including any ancillary jumps. So again, comparing to what we saw in the 2000s, where a ton of women jumped 15 meters, 60 times, this era did not compete with it. Even dating back to the 90s, where again, we saw multiple women jump over 15 meters multiple times. So not nearly as strong of a decade. Now, of course, some context, adding Yulimar Rojas in 2019 would have added a few more 15-meter jumps. But again, I'm going to talk about kind of the Yulimar Rojas era just in a second. So on top of that, the only time that it took 15 meters to get the gold medal at the Olympic Games or World Championships was in 2016, when Katerina Barguin actually did it in Rio. No other time, no other championships between 2010 all the way up to 2018 did we see a woman jump 15 meters to not only get on the podium, but to even get the gold medal. Only that one time. On top of that, just to get on the podium, it was a huge drop down from the previous years, right? The previous decades, where the farthest it took to get on the podium in any year was 2011, where it took 14.84 meters. And you can argue that's kind of a carryover from the previous decade where so many women were dominating from 2000 all the way up to 2010. But again, this kind of 2011 to 2018, decade, this was a step back from the previous years. Now, like I noted at the top, Katerina Ibarguen was one of my favorite athletes, and this was the decade that she truly dominated. And along with Ibarguen, you also had Olga Rypova, who competed for Kazakhstan. And both of them really shared, the bulk of the medals, where between those two, they won 11 medals, including 4 gold medals, again, throughout that entire decade. Rojas entered the fold in 2016 when she got the silver medal, and then of course 2017 when she got the gold medal. But we're going to talk about her in just a second, where 2019 was really the big step up for Rojas to really become the athlete that she is today and really usher in this new generation. So with that, let's dive in and talk about this current era of the women's triple jump. And I'm going to be starting from 2019 and going all the way up to current day, 2024. And only 5 years within this event so far in the current era, Rojas dominated the event, like I discussed at the top in terms of all her accolades. Won every single gold medal between 2017 all the way up to 2023 at Worlds, Olympics, World Indoors. She broke the world record on 2 occasions. I already spoke about the depth. I spoke about all the time she jumped over 15 meters. She was the dominant name and really cemented herself as the GOAT of the women's triple jump in just these past, 5 or 6 years or so. Now, on top of that, in just 5 years, we saw 5 women jump 15 meters, a total of 33 times in just 5 years. Compare that to the previous decade, where in 8 years from 2010 to 2018, we only saw 5 women jump 15 meters 8 times. So already in just 5 years, we saw more 15-meter jumps. And again, Yulimar Rojas is in that mix, but even if we remove Yulimar Rojas, we still have 4 other women who have jumped over 15 meters 7 times throughout their careers in just these past 5 years. So we're talking about 5 years essentially equaling what we saw during the previous decade. And that's without Yulimar Rojas. That's without including ancillary jumps. And just to add on to that, all the championships from 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023, those 4 championships within 5 years were more competitive than we'd seen in the previous decade, and really the most competitive since the 2000s. If we look at 2021, of course, Yulimar Rojas won the gold medal in 15.67 meters, breaking that world record. Silver medal took 15.01 meters. The bronze medal, just to get on the podium, it took 14.87 meters. That is the farthest that it's taken to be able to get onto the podium since 2008 at the Olympic Games. I told you about that extreme depth at those Olympics. But if we look at 2023, that was even deeper of a championships, and really one of the deepest that we've ever seen in the history of the event. First place, we saw Yulimar Rojas get that gold medal. She jumped over 15 meters. Second place, Bekh-Romanchuk, she jumped 15 meters flat and got the silver medal. Third place, Perez Hernandez, she jumped 14.96 meters to get the bronze medal. And then just behind them, there was an insane amount of depth. You're talking about Shanika Ricketts jumping 14.9 and not getting onto the podium. Thea Lafon jumping 14.9, not getting onto the podium in 5th place. Povea, she jumped 14.87 and got 6th place. That type of depth, again, has not been seen since 2008. And if we really think about it, if we take away those DQs that happened in 2008, we have not seen that much depth when talking about all the way down to 6th place at a global championship final, except for 2004. Now, again, 2008, we did see those DQs, and also the top 4, even after those DQs, did jump 15 meters, but going all the way down to 6th only happened in 2004. Unmatched. So this just speaks to the dominance and the consistency that all these women have been able to put down in just 5 years since 2019. And like I said at the top, Yulimar Rojas is the GOAT of the women's triple jump, and she has been responsible for ushering in this new generation. Now, this isn't to say that some of these women weren't competing before, but I think because Yulimar Rojas has been able to not only break world records and win these gold medals, but consistently jump over 15 meters, that has really caused everyone else to step up their game to be able to be competitive and to actually get on those podiums. This era has been the greatest era since the 2000s, that 2000 to 2010 era, but we still have a few more years to go, so who knows what might be possible. And even with Yulimar Rojas out for this season, we still have so many women who are going to make the event extremely competitive, considering how many times we've seen 15 meters from some of these other women outside of Yulimar Rojas. So let's actually talk about some of these top contenders who are really going to be making a name for themselves when we get to the Paris Olympics. So first off, you have Jasmine Moore from the United States. She jumped 15.12 meters and is the NCAA champion from 2023. You also have Shanika Ricketts from Jamaica, and she's jumped 15.03 meters along with a couple other 15-meter performances differences. She's a 2019 and 2022 World Championship silver medalist. Marina Bekh-Romanchuk, who represents Ukraine, she has jumped 15.02 meters, and she got the silver medal at the 2023 World Championships. Thea Lafon represents Dominica. She has jumped 15.01 meters just this year, and she is a 2024 World Indoor Champion. Leanis Perez Hernandez, she competes for Cuba. She jumped 14.98 meters, and she's a 2023 World Championship bronze medalist and the 2024 World Indoor Championship silver medalist. Her fellow countrywoman from Cuba, Povea, she jumped 14.93 meters. She's a double Pan Am medalist, and she's also got 5th place at the Tokyo Olympic Games in 2021. Couture Orji from the United States, 14.91 meters for a personal best, and she has gotten 4th place a bunch of times at the Olympic Games and the World Championships, always on the cusp. Charisma Taylor, she competes for the Bahamas, 14.88 meters in terms of her personal best. She was the NCAA runner-up back in 2023, and she got 6th place at the 2024 World Indoor Championships. Ana Pelletiero, she's jumped 14.87 meters, represents Spain. She's an Olympic bronze medalist from 2021 and the World Indoor silver medalist in 2024. And then finally, Tori Franklin from the United States, 14.86 meters. She's a 2022 World Championship bronze medalist. So despite Yulimar Rojas getting injured, I really hope that she recovers quickly and is able to come back in 2025. But even with her absence this year in 2024, I think that the women's triple jump is in very good hands. And we can see this as probably one of the most competitive events at the Olympic Games when we get to Paris later on this summer. You're talking about events like the men's 100-meter dash, the men's 400, the women's 100-meter hurdles. The women's triple jump is in that same realm and is going to be extremely competitive. Yes, we may not see a world record go down, but you're going to see women jumping over 15 meters. So again, I know this event doesn't get much recognition, but it's one of my favorite events, and I really, really believe that you should keep an eye out for all these women as we get to the Olympics later on this summer. Thanks for watching, y'all.